you would have opened your home too. You would have seen a lost girl and offered love. You would have believed that kindness could fix anything. But what if the person you welcomed in was silently planning your children's murder? In the quiet town of Mlang, North Cotabato, Philippines, an unimaginable tragedy unfolded on December 10, 2021. What began as a routine afternoon quickly descended into horror when Cruz Maguad, a 48-year-old public school teacher, received a troubling call from a neighbor about possible disturbances at his home. Upon arriving at his residence at 3:15 p.m., Cruz discovered a blood-soaked scene that would soon be recognized as one of the Philippines' most notorious crimes. The couple had two biological children, 18-year-old Gwynn, smart and confident, and 16-year-old BoyBoy, cheerful and full of promise. But they'd also recently opened their home to a teenage girl. Her name was Janice, a troubled girl from a local orphanage. The Maguads saw potential in her. They wanted to give her a second chance, so they took her in and treated her like one of their own. But that decision would lead to unspeakable tragedy. At first, things seemed okay. Janice smiled in family pictures. She shared meals, attended school, and laughed alongside her foster siblings. From the outside, it looked like a success story. A young girl finding a family. But underneath it all, something was wrong. Something was festering. Janice struggled with deep feelings of resentment. She didn't feel equal to Gwynn and BoyBoy. She felt like a guest, an outsider. No matter how kind her foster parents were or how friendly her new siblings tried to be, she couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. And over time, that feeling turned dark. The Maguads didn't know it, but Janice had begun harboring a quiet hatred, not just for her life, but for the people who gave her one. On December 10, 2021, at 2:58 p.m., Cruz was helping with repairs at Ban Elementary School where his wife Illa was principal. His afternoon was interrupted by a concerning call from a neighbor who had noticed unusual disturbance inside the Maguad residence. The neighbor reported the home appeared to have been ransacked, though he hadn't entered the property himself. Cruz immediately contacted his wife, who was away on business, and urged her to return home. He abandoned his work and rushed to their residence, deeply concerned about their 3 children who had been home alone. 18-year-old Gwynn, 16-year-old Lewis, known as BoyBoy, and their recently adopted daughter, Janice Seal. The lack of communication from any of the children heightened his anxiety as he made his way home. At approximately 3:15 p.m., Cruz arrived at his silent home. Outside the front door lay a blood-soaked blanket and a knife. Upon entering through the back door, Cruz discovered a nightmarish scene. In the living room, he found Gwynn's body with multiple slash wounds across her limbs and torso, her head wrapped in a towel. Near the main door lay BoyBoy, bound and gagged, with numerous fresh stab wounds. The house was in complete disarray, with cabinets pried open and belongings scattered throughout. Janice eventually emerged from her room, visibly shaken and wet-haired, unable to speak clearly. Multiple weapons were found at the scene, including a broken knife, a machete, a baseball bat, and a hammer belonging to the family, and all bearing bloodstains. The crime scene analysis revealed that Gwynn had suffered 32 stab wounds, with injuries severe enough to nearly sever limbs, while Lewis had endured 51 knife wounds. The evidence suggested multiple attackers, with Gwynn likely killed first, followed by Lewis. Despite the appearance of a robbery, investigators determined this was not the motive behind this brutal attack. And then there was Janice, alive, shaken, sitting quietly. She told the police that she had been in the bathroom when the attack happened. She said masked intruders broke in. She was lucky to survive, she claimed. She hid and waited until the danger passed, but almost immediately, things didn't add up. If she had been hiding the entire time, how did she know what the weapons were? How did she know where they were kept? Why didn't she scream for help? Her story unraveled quickly. Investigators noticed inconsistencies in her timeline. Neighbors hadn't seen any suspicious people. There were no signs of forced entry. And then they found something chilling. A hidden bag with bloody clothes. DNA tests confirmed what police had begun to suspect. Janice wasn't a victim. She was the killer. Faced with mounting evidence, Janice finally confessed. But what she revealed was even worse than anyone imagined. She hadn't acted alone. She had planned it. Carefully. Deliberately. With the help of a teenage accomplice believed to be her boyfriend. They had waited for the right day. When the parents were gone, when there would be no one to stop them, when they could finally act on the hatred that had been boiling inside her for months, they struck without warning. First BoyBoy, then Gwynn. The attack was savage, overkill. Not a quick death, but a prolonged, frenzied assault. What could drive a teenage girl to murder the only family who took her in? Jealousy. Janice told investigators she had grown tired of feeling inferior. She envied Gwynn's intelligence. She resented BoyBoy's close bond with their parents. She felt unloved, forgotten, and so, in her twisted mind, she thought that removing them would bring her peace. Instead, it brought devastation. The Maguad parents came home to a nightmare. Their children lifeless, their home a crime scene. The girl they had welcomed and trusted now their greatest regret. The trial that followed was one of the most emotionally charged in local history. Because Janice and her accomplice were minors, they were protected under juvenile laws. But that didn't stop the public from demanding justice. During the hearings, testimonies revealed even darker truths. Janice had expressed violent fantasies before. She had journals filled with disturbing thoughts. Messages exchanged between her and her accomplice hinted at a plan in motion weeks before the crime. Some relatives even recalled moments when Janice seemed cold, detached, especially when talking about her foster siblings. The media dubbed it the orphan killer case. Social media exploded with grief and anger. Hashtags like "Justice for Maguad siblings" trended nationwide. People were horrified that someone could commit such a crime under the roof of people who only ever tried to help. In 2025, the tragedy was dramatized in a two-part episode of Malala Mo Kaya titled The Silent House. It depicted the events leading up to the murder, the tension, the betrayal, and the heartbreak that followed. It brought the case to an even wider audience, reigniting conversations about adoption, trauma, and mental health. But even with the media attention, the sentence felt hollow to many. Janice and her accomplice were given 22 to 37 years in prison, a light punishment, some believed, for such a heinous crime. But the law protects minors, and in the eyes of the court, rehabilitation is the goal. Still, for the Maguad family, there is no rehabilitation from this, only grief. Every corner of their home holds a memory of their children. Every photo, every sound, every silence, a constant reminder of what was lost. And yet, even in the face of such tragedy, the Maguads have shown strength. They've spoken about the need for better support for adopted children, for more awareness of mental health, for greater caution. Because this story, it isn't just about a murder. It's about what happens when pain is ignored, when someone feels invisible, when cries for help turn into screams of rage. It's about how trust, once broken, can destroy everything. Let this be a reminder to us all that love, while powerful, cannot heal everything alone. That sometimes the greatest dangers aren't from the outside, but from the people we invite in. And that even the kindest hearts can be caught off guard by the darkness they never saw coming. May Gwynn and BoyBoy rest in peace. And may we never forget what happened inside that silent house.